Everybody, it's 7 p.m., but I'm gonna wait so we can get quorum. Hopefully that'll work. Just a couple minutes.
Here I am. I used the link at the top of the agenda. That one worked.
Okay, I'm not sure what happened with other. We think we have one more commissioner joining.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah,
our
I
conduit
joined
is
with the
old.
link that was on October 1st. That's how I got in. Because when I went to the one that was posted on October 8th, it just kept whirling around and
Yeah,
around.
same here.
This isn't that great for our constituents.
Well, I don't see a September, an October 1st. It's linked automatically to the Google Calendar, and there's no event on October 1st. So I don't see any.
Hmm.
There's only an October 8th, and it's the same link that I used to enter. I don't know. I'll look into it again. It was the agenda link that had problems because I had to edit it on the Google mobile app at one point, and that doesn't let you embed a link, but that was just the agenda. I didn't touch the link. In any case, I'll double check that I didn't do something wrong for future
Yeah.
meetings. This is the
Well,
only time.
I'm here. Do we have people attending this meeting? Are there other? Okay.
Yeah, looks like everybody's here. So, or
Okay.
well, people that I expect to attend as well as some.
Okay. So it could be me.
I'll double check.
I'm not that confident with this, so
That's all right. If you had an issue, others might have as well. So I'll double check. In any case, we have a quorum. We're all here. Glad to start. Welcome. Thanks everyone for your patience as we sorted through potential technical issues. This is the October 2025 general meeting of ANC 1C, representing Adams Morgan. Calls the meeting to order. Brief introduction of commissioners. I always say in particular order, but I guess with some sort of numerical order. Who wants to start? I guess the highest number is 108 right now. So how about we start with you? David, that's you. All right. Let's start. Yeah, there we go.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good. You're good.
Can you repeat yourself? Sorry.
Just brief introductions.
Oh yeah, David Fucillo, 1C08. Finally getting over technical difficulties.
Very good. 106.
Hi, Linda Laughlin, 1C06. It's the eastern side of Adams Morgan, the closest corner that's near Mount Pleasant.
104.
1204, Marie Elise Diamond, kind of Biltmore Calvert Street area. Welcome, everybody.
Hi, I'm Peter Wood. I represent 1C03. That is kind of right in the middle, 18th to 19th Biltmore, Wyoming. Last but not least, unless you want to be sped out, I don't support that.
Howard Bollicky, 1C01. We're the southwest corner of the district, the Hilton and Oyster Adams School, and down in that corner. Good to be here.
All right, I'll double check that we didn't get, I know at least one commissioner wasn't able to make it. Yeah, so we'll be the lowest number that we're allowed to have in order to have a quorum tonight, which is fine. I think it's not a super robust agenda. So to begin, tonight's agenda doesn't have any, well, how do I say this? Just to approve the agenda. The agenda has one item that was supported by the PSC committee, but it's on the consent agenda as per recommendation of the committee. And there's one item as general business that did not go through a committee. And there's a bunch of renewals, kind of like last month. Just the timing is a bit weird, so I put them on this just in case anyone has comments. Don't really expect to take action, but we could. And then sorting that out for next month, but that's another conversation. So any questions, comments about the agenda? Anyone have any issues? I'm double checking I didn't overlook something. Yeah, just to clarify, in the consent agenda, there was one item. I don't even know if it's necessary, but a representative or someone that is representing DDOT, I don't know if they're actually DDOT employee, was looking for support to use the community room at the line. Don't even know if that's necessary. I think they're just trying to make it easier to get a reservation because they're having a hard time finding the right person to contact. So they're just trying to be precautionary. I think it was more formality than anything. So that's why it's in the consent agenda. But if there are no further questions or comments, the agenda for tonight will be confirmed. And so be it. And next, let's go through officers' reports. Let's see, chairperson report. Not anything specific, just kind of general. The state of affairs in Washington, D.C. is not ideal, right? For a lot of different reasons. Working through a lot of it. I mean, there's a lot of different approaches. There's a lot of the big questions that have come to me personally as chair, and I imagine to other commissioners as well. But also there's a lot of the kind of, mundane or at least smaller scale stuff that is also important. Like people saying, hey, I think the trash should get picked up. Rats shouldn't be eating all of our things, stuff like that, crime, etc. Like issues that are that transcends the politics of the moment. So I'm trying to spend time on that and just trying to direct commission resources to that. I could go on, but I won't. Like I said, nothing else that comes to my mind specifically, some kind of things we've discussed in the past, but hopefully next month have a more specific update on those things. Next secretary is not here tonight. This month's, I'll kind of fill in. This month's meetings, as you can see, or a week off. Last Wednesday was a religious holiday, so in observance of that, we delayed a week for all the meetings. Well, I'll get into specific committees next week, but as far as we can tell, everything should be posted publicly and that considered a regular schedule for the month. I guess the treasurer isn't able to make it here as well. I'll also fill in for him. I'll read the message he sent. He sent a report, which is that our current balance, well, actually, this is not updated. Our current balance before we just got the most recent payment was $14,002.07. I think it's like 14 or 19,000 something now. We got roughly $5,000 payment several hours after the treasurer came with this report. So we have a little bit less than $20,000, but we also have to go through some expenses and some proposed expenses, including tonight. We received that Q4 2025 payment. Like I said, I think that was yesterday afternoon, something like that. Overall, a relatively boring update, which I think is a good thing. We are a relatively stable place financially. Like I said, do have some expenses we have to sift through in the coming weeks and months. So it's not like we have unlimited funds. Far from it, but also far from, I forget, it was like 2 years ago where we had like less than $100 to our name, which is a very scary moment. And hopefully we'll never return to that, but one step at a time. Okay, commissioner announcements. Also, if you are chair of a committee, please feel free to give any relevant committee updates for this month as well. I guess let's go reverse order. Well, smallest SMD number up. How's that sound, Commissioner Balke?
Oh, sure. Thank you. Not a lot to report. We're still chasing rats and dealing with traffic overloads when school gets out 19th Street at mid-afternoon at Oyster Adams. Just wanted to mention last month the Historic Preservation Review Board approved a design for a pretty major residential complex that's going to go in at 18th and California, which is where the al fresco restaurant was very briefly. I mean, they built a brand new building and did a lot of really nice things there, and then the thing just bombed in less than a year. And so now they're going to tear the whole thing down and replace it with a 5-story, 31-unit residential complex that will include inclusive zoning. But they're going to have things like balconies on 18th Street and two levels of underground parking off the alley on the other side. So I just, for those of us who remember when this corner used to be an overflow parking lot for L'Oreal Plaza and the site of a large clothing donation bin, I mean, there's really going to be, I think, an uptick in activity right around that intersection, which will be interesting for the neighborhood, and we'll obviously be following it closely. So with that, I'll hand it back to you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Brief comment. I think it was shortly before you took office this time, but ANC 1C did support the application for, I think, zoning variance. We did something. I forget the specifics, but they came to us a few months ago. So it was not completely surprising.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
Next would be, is that me? It is. So once the ABC and public safety, like I said, there are some more renewals of licenses coming through that we can put on either next week's agenda or next month's agenda. I'll double check to which matches the timing of the applications best. It seems that at the moment the applications for renewals are for tavern licenses. So I haven't had anyone from the community come to me with any questions or concerns. Of course, that could change, but take every application on their own. In addition to that, just like recently, maybe in the last hour or something, I've even responded. Actually, we did. No. Trying to get an MPD officer from the 3rd District onto our committee meeting next month. An officer from 3D did reach out to several commissioners. I don't exactly know what their list was, but I was on it. I think it might have been chair people, trying to get a meeting of people to go. Not sure where that stands. They've changed the date a bit. So they've been in communication trying to, for lack of a better term, massage community relations in the current state of public safety in the District of Columbia. We'll see where that goes. It could go a lot of directions. But in any case, hopefully we'll get someone onto one of the meetings, if not next week, then next month, to go over kind of Adams Morgan related reports, as well as kind of general questions that any of us might have. All right, next up will be 104. Oh,
Okay.
Actually, all right, take that back really quick. I forgot SMD update. I don't have a ton. I did notice that I wasn't able to attend the meeting, but DPR, I think, is getting ready to Calorama Park erosion funds implemented. I think that next year they're supposedly going to be able to start work. They don't have a website for the project up yet, but when I have that available, I'll start sharing it, and it'll be available on the public web as well. That's all. Thank you, Commissioner. Go ahead.
Hi everybody. I have a lot of announcements because I've been busy. But first, I want to give a hello from Commissioner Swanson Palmer. I have her update. She's the secretary. She's out of town. So this is the Commissioner Swanson Palmer update, which I said I would do for her. So Commissioner Swanson Palmer will be back in November, but please reach out to her with anything you need as usual via email or text. She has 3 upcoming cleanups scheduled: October 26th from 11 to 12, October 30th, 6 to 8 p.m. And I'll give some more information about that in my report because I'm partnering with her, and November 9th from 1 to 2. So the community cleanups she has found have been really great for community building. So that is her S&D report. Now for 1CO4. First, I just want to give a special welcome to anybody that's here from Free DC. There was a big meeting on Monday, and I made some announcements about this meeting. So if you followed up and came, thank you. That is wonderful. As always, there's pot banging from 7 to 7:05 at various points in our commission. That's a great way to build community and show your support for DC. Um, Also, it's a very stressful time in DC as always, but this week because of the government shutdown, furloughs, and all of that. So if anybody is feeling financial stress, there's lots of resources. I went to a workshop offered by OPC, the Office of the People's Council. Specifically, there was a workshop on how to get help if you can't pay your utility bills. So that's gas and water. So reach out if that is affecting you. Also, I know passions run very high about bus priority and bike lanes. So there is a plan to extend our Columbia Road bus priority and bike lanes through Mount Pleasant. And there's 2 open houses at the Mount Pleasant Library, so you can see the plans and comment on them. One is Saturday, November 1st from 1 to 4. The other is Tuesday, November 4th from 5:30 to 7:30. Um, Also, as a commission, we supported the DC's bottle bill, and there was a hearing last week, and I went to the hearing and testified. Over 200 people testified, and it was half and half, half for and half against. And most of the people testifying against were from businesses, and the complaints seemed to be both logistics and expense. There were a lot of testimonies for the bottle bill by the Sierra Club, the Girl Scouts, the DC Environmental Network, and lots of other residents. So where that stands right now is many people gave suggestions on how it could work better. So the bill is going to proceed through 2 DC Council committee reviews, move on to council votes, and finally be sent to the mayor's desk. However, during the testimony, it came out that Muriel Bowser is against the bottle bill, so she might veto it. Even I know it may get a veto, and then the council would have to vote to override. So that's what's happening with the bottle bill. Um, and my last thing is I encourage everybody to hang the DC flag just to show your pride in the city, because I think this is a time when we all need to stick together. So that's my long-winded report of everything that I've been doing.
Lots of stuff. You weren't lying. Appreciate it. Next would be, thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Laughlin's next. Floor is yours.
Thanks. Commissioner Diamond forgot to mention, because she was a big part of the success of it last month at Adams Morgan Day, we set up a bracelet making station in Colorama Park. Thanks to her and Commissioner Swanson's already ready to go bead collection. So we made lots of friendship bracelets. And we probably will do it again, since it was a great community building, adults, children, even I think a police officer made one. I don't remember.
Yeah, it was epic.
Great.
Yeah, it was really incredible community building, and it was all day, like starting with the little kids in the morning, and then adults, and then like the younger folk listening to the bands after lots of drinking and other things. So yeah, it was great.
Yeah, so if you saw us out there and made one for yourself, great, and certainly something we can probably plan to do again. I'm going to say it was already in the consent agenda, but for just a committee update, we did approve a grant application from Platform of Hope at the last PSE meeting. It's for a resource fair they're going to hold at the end of October. They don't have a specific date yet, but I will get that out because it is open to all Ward 1 residents and especially to our community residents or community members in 1C. But we'll get that information out. And then one note, because I've received a couple emails and I even witnessed it or heard it yesterday. If you are on the 1700 block of Harvard, either in Harvard Hall or Park Ellison, I'm aware there's a very large vent noise. I think it's from the parking garage at Harvard Hall, but some folks say it's the air conditioning unit of some sort on top of Park Ellison. If you've heard it or been impacted, certainly let me know. I've mentioned it to the Department of Buildings, but the difficulty they have is that they can come and inspect, but if the noise is not happening at the time that they inspect, then they can't measure for the decibel levels to see if it's violating the allowed decibel level. But I'll get updates. It happened a few months ago, but they were testing an air system, so I don't know if the same thing happened. But yeah, it was really loud yesterday, and I knew because I heard it because I'm a furloughed employee, so I'm hanging out at home a lot right now. And because I'm hanging out at home, I know we've mentioned rats, and I'm working now and just about to send some information to the Department of Health to propose doing a rat pilot survey to collect data. I'll send and provide more information about that, but I'm very data driven and I'm making a proposal to the Department of Health to help them out with some stuff. And I will be coming back to this commission later to ask for volunteers to help collect that information. But putting my data skills to use, and we're going to collect some data.
Supportive of data as well. Love it. Thank you for that. Commissioner Fucila.
Yes, this is my first month or so as chair of PZT, the Planning and Zoning. No updates there. I'm going to be working with Commissioner Olson and Commissioner Johnson Palmer to get some details on some of the processes. I've had a couple people reach out about that, so working through that. For 1C08, I'm actually also working with Commissioner Swanson Palmer on some rad issues along Calorama, since that borders both of us right there in front of Harris Teeter. So when she gets back to town, we'll be working through that. I think the big piece of news for 1C08 is that I have an update about Mary Center and their location on Calorama, and we actually have a couple folks to speak to that as well. Some of you might have read the news last week, but for those that haven't, Mary Center CEO Nancy Ban announced that they'll be closing the Adams Morgan headquarters and clinic that they have there and selling the properties at 2333 Ontario Road and 1707 Calorama Road. Obviously, this will impact our ANC, but also greater DC due to the healthcare needs that they provide. So we've got Lita Vanegas, who is the VP of Comms, and then the VP of Medical Operations Manager, Jennifer Rodriguez. They're joining us, I believe, shortly after me to go into the sale details and answer any questions folks might have. And that's my update.
Perfect. And that is a good segue because that's the next agenda item. So I'll have both of them. If you could raise your hands, I'm going to see you just to make sure we get the right counts. Those representatives from Mary Center. Some next agenda item update from you all. Of course, not the greatest of updates, but a bit out of everyone's control. So welcome here tonight. Thanks for taking the time to speak to us. I'll just take a moment to transition you over to panelists. We've got one of two.
Sorry, I don't know if I did the right thing.
Yeah, perfect.
This is
Yeah.
the way to join. Oh, hi, how are you? Nice to be here with you all. So I'm Lida Vanegas in communication. So I've been with Mary Center for over 20 years at this Adams Morgan location, and I'm here with Jennifer Rodriguez in operations. I don't know how familiar you guys are with Mary Center. But anyway, just very briefly, we're at the corner of Ontario and Kalorama. We've been in service for 37 years. Today is our birthday, 37 years ago. So we've been at this location since 1994, but before then we were in a small basement right in front of Saucier Mom. So we've been in the neighborhood forever. So yeah, sadly, we made the difficult decision to sell our properties at the Kalorama and Ontario intersection. You know that the healthcare organizations are going through a lot of challenges. We have lost federal funding, we have lost grants, we have closed programs, and with the new Medicaid provisions, we know that more changes are coming. So we want to be proactive and we want to make sure that we stay stronger, sustainable for the future. So we decided to leverage, the value of this building in Adams Morgan, but that doesn't mean that we're closing the services for our patients. We're just relocating to our other locations. I don't know if you know, but we have 5 locations with this one. So we have 2 more in DC, we have 2 in Maryland. So the idea is to move people, to move patients and staff to the other sites. But in the meantime, for the next 18 to 24 months, which is the time that we have heard that might take to sell these buildings, we're going to be in operations. So we're going to be, providers will be on site, patients will come just regularly, so nothing will change. But the other reason why we're choosing Adams Morgan as opposed to the others is that, a lot of our patients come from long distances, like about an average of 78 minutes traveling to come to Adams Morgan, and about a fourth go to other 2 sites, are Petworth and Fort Totten. So we want to make it easier for them. But yeah, it's a very sad decision, but hopefully it'll be for us to continue in service. Jen, in our team, I don't know if I missed something, but she's working a lot with the team about transitioning. I don't know if any of you are patients of Mary Center, but just in case, everything will work out for everyone, hopefully.
Yes, thank you, Lita. We don't plan or anticipate any changes to our operations or the services that we provide at this time throughout this transition. And we will have lots of communications to our patient population and the community as kind of more developments occur with the sale of the building and our transition into consolidating into our other clinics. But there will be tons of communication to their community.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Thank you for all of this. Commissioners, any questions, comments? I know Mary Center is very beloved, so this is not the greatest news to be here with, but I appreciate the transparency. Commissioner Fucila.
Yes, I'm wondering if this means anything or what this means for BRIA, the public charter school that obviously shares the location.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
they've got, oh, go ahead.
So Bria, Bria has been part of Mary Center, within our 3 clinics in DC. What we're trying to do and working with Chrissy McKay, the executive director, is we're trying to see, because we want to leave a footprint in Adams Morgan. We're trying to see if we can have a smaller space in Adams Morgan based on the services that most of our patients coming here use. Maybe to find a partner to be part of, with those services. But Bria wants to try, well, they're going to try to stay with us. So if we're going somewhere, if they can be with us at that other location. So they're trying to figure out, this is all new. So we're still navigating what the next process is. But, Bria is at Fort Totten and Petworth. And the idea is if we can stay with Bria in Adams Morgan somewhere, we will. They are going to start looking for, for a new site also, but they still have 2 years.
Thank you for that. Commissioners, attendees as well, if you have any questions or comments, please raise your hand. Anything that, I would imagine the answer is limited or no, but anything as commissioners or as a commission that we can consider doing to be supportive as you go through this transition that would be helpful for you all?
Well, to find a donor so we don't have to sell the building, to to see if there are partners who want to do something so we can stay in the area, even if it's in a small footprint. Um, and to support Mary Center, whatever you can do, we still have, services there. If anyone wants to come for services, they're welcome to come. So just to continue to support us, as I said, I've been with Mary Center for over 20 years, and the neighbors and everyone around us have always supported us so much. So just to keep on doing that. Thank you for all you have done.
Yeah.
And we'll be for sure letting you know about whatever, new things are happening.
That's helpful as individual commissioners, as well as I know the Business Improvement District. We have some communication with, like, for example, commercial property owners in the area. So there's opportunity to explore what potential ideas might be out there. There's unfortunately a lot of turnover in terms of vacancies in properties, so maybe that could be to your benefit, but there'll be a conversation for another time, I imagine.
That's true. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Anything else, commissioners? Thank you both for being here tonight. Really do appreciate it, and hopefully we can have better news as we go forward. We'll take it one day at a time, I suppose.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
Have a good evening. Thank you again.
Thank you.
All right, and now we are at the section for public announcements. If you're here with public announcements, please raise your hand and we'll get to you in the order that they're received. Looks like first is Brian from the Adams Morgan Partnership and Business Improvement District. Welcome,
Hey,
Brian.
everybody. So just wanted to say we have a couple of our big events coming up in the next few weeks. We have our Apple Festival on October 18th. Slice sales are all going to benefit Sitar Art Center this year. We've got a panel of judges coming out, An Yang, Tom Sherwood, Phil Mendelson, and Peter Wood is going to be representing the ANC. A few others in the neighborhood. Always a good time. It takes place in conjunction with the farmers market from about 10 to 1 on Saturday, October 18th. So please come out for that. It'll be a lot of fun. And then Porch Fest, November 1st, which we all know and hopefully all love. But it should be great. We're closing 18th Street. It's going to be the biggest Porch Fest ever, where we have 28 locations, all basically within the same footprint that we've been doing for the past several years. We're always looking for more volunteers. If anybody's interested in volunteering, volunteers get a free T-shirt. We're gonna have a happy hour for volunteers and porch hosts at Grand Central. I don't have the date handy, but reach out if you need that. What else? Oh, and the whole lineup for the event is up on our website. We actually launched a new website a couple weeks ago. AdamsMorgan.com is now the new home of the Adams Morgan Bid website. The old URL still bounced to the same place, so you can find it that way too. But the website has the lineups and locations and all that good stuff for the event. Also, business specials are still coming in, but there's a dozen or so up there already, and there will be more as we go. And we'll be selling Porch Fest t-shirts with our retail partners at Smash Records, Urban Dwell, Because Science, and Ace Hardware. And I think that's all. And we're also very sad to see Mary Center go, but happy they're going to hopefully be here for a couple years or so before they leave.
Yeah, thank you for that. One quick question. I should know the answer. I just forget because we supported the Porch Fest street closures. Traffic closures from Calrama to Columbia, is that right?
Yeah, so the street's gonna be closed from Calrama to Columbia. The buses that usually go up 18th Street will divert around to Columbia Road. And the street will be closed from noon until 8 p.m., possibly earlier if they get stuff cleared out.
Yeah, thank you. Commissioner Laughlin.
What's going on with the barricades that I know the bid purchased? Like, did they find a home yet? Because I know the goal was to have other areas use them, and I know you guys were struggling or working out details on that. And if any, I'd love to hear any updates on it.
I could give a TED talk on the barriers, but I won't bore you with that. Short story is we spent a lot of time and money from the district government, although actually I think it was federal money ultimately, on these barriers. We use them, deploy them when we close the streets for our events. Our hope was to basically have a city entity own them, and then give us priority for our events. We haven't managed to put that together. We're finding nobody wants to store them. At one point, I think somebody was willing to take them, but they weren't going to give us any sort of guarantees that we would be able to use them after we gave them. They would just see it as a donation. So in the meantime, they are stored in Frederick, Maryland, by the company that we bought them from. We're leasing space at it. It's not too expensive to store them there. It's space is apparently plentiful in Frederick. Yeah. So you'll still see them for Porch Fest, but we're hoping to when we've talked with other bids, we've talked with DC agencies, and we're still pursuing it. It's been a long road.
Just really quickly, those red, how much square footage those things take up collectively? That can't be that much, right?
Not that much. They're they fit on two long trailers. I don't know how long the trailer is. I'm gonna guess 30, 40 feet, something like that.
Basically.
So yeah, I mean, large garage space. I mean, there's clearly space in the district, but it's accessibility and or just, I guess, just access to it. And yeah, it's complicated, more so than you would think it would be.
Sure, Diamond.
I have a comment and a couple of questions. My comment is, I love your background. I'm jealous and I really want that. My question is, for Brian, is what streets are going to be closed? Just 18th or other streets as well?
So the only formal closure that we're working on is 18th Street. There are some neighbors that try to get block party permits to close streets. We're not involved with that because we can't be involved in that. It's a neighbor and neighbor sort of thing. So I can't say for sure. I know people on Lanier have tried to do that, and maybe California. It's hard to say. And frankly, inevitably, if it's a really nice day and we get a really good turnout, there's always a chance some residential streets will kind of close themselves due to the crowds. And we're trying to get our volunteers to be more diligent about asking people to stay out of the roads, because we're very concerned about that. But it's tricky. It's a lot of people, and then it's one of the reasons we close 18th Street is to give a large, basically a huge plaza for people to gather and be in the street. But yeah, there are places where it gets to be pretty crowded in the sidewalks and people start squeezing out into the streets.
Yeah, and my question is maybe more for Peter is this an event that we want to table at as an ANC, or we just want to be supportive by attending? Like, is there any benefit to us to table?
I'd say that's a subjective question, or we can discuss it kind of internally, but if we have availability, I think there's nothing
Okay.
stopping.
We would, yeah, y'all are certainly welcome to do that. And I think you've done that in the past, maybe last year, I'm not sure. But yeah, I mean, typically we don't have like vendors at our events. Everything is all about driving people to Adams Morgan businesses. But we do offer tabling to neighborhood nonprofits, and then obviously you guys are I think qualify either way.
And if
regardless of what you.
If for the block party permit, who would have to do that? I ask because on my street there's usually 2 or 3 bands, and it would be really beneficial to have part of the street closed. So is that something I need to get a resident to do, or I should do that, or how does that work?
I just put it in the chat, Commissioner Diamond. It's DDOT.
Okay, thank you.
And it is like a process. You do need to get signatures from your neighbors. But
Okay.
like on Lanier, like most, we do it for Halloween too. A lot of blocks do it for Halloween. It's the same process. If you,
Okay.
so since Halloween is coming up, if you want to close down your street for a Halloween block party, it's the same process.
Yeah, if anyone chooses to do that, my one tip is don't use the word Porch Fest in your application.
Okay.
Because that might trigger something.
Good to know. Well, thank you for all that, Brian.
Sure.
Good evening. Talk to you, Council.
Thanks.
Next is Traverse Culpepper from Pepco. Thank you for your patience and welcome, Traverse, as you were getting upgraded to or promoted to panel.
Hello, thank you so very much. This is Trevor Culpepper, External Affairs Manager for Pepco, and just wanted to provide just a brief update on the Champlain substation rebuild. As you all know and probably have seen a lot of activity on the substation site, we have actually secured our footprint for the construction demolition. So obviously, Old Morgan School Road has been closed to support this, as well as parking lanes taken up on Ontario Road and Champlain Street. Right now, we're needing to get another permit, and that's why you haven't seen a lot of the work starting to ramp up on the site. But so far, what we've done is removed a lot of the internal equipment that was inside of the existing building out, and then we've broken down the tower that was on the site. That's gone as well. Right now, we're doing the remaining erosion, sediment, and environmental assessments. And then we've started construction on 18th Street with a uh, transmission line, and then we'll soon start along 17th Street and U Street near the police station. And then later in November, I believe there will be some excavation along Colorama and then Champlain Street as well. We did have our community meeting on September 25th where we provided updates to community members about the project. We also have been having ongoing meetings with DDOT in reference to the pedestrian safety enhancements for Marie Reed Elementary School, and then also securing the permits as well to coordinate with other activities taking place in the area. We also have been meeting on a consistent basis with Marie Reed Elementary School and the PTO. We have scheduled monthly meetings with Marie Reed. Just to provide updates and get feedback for the construction that is taking place. So I just wanted to just provide that information to you all. Once we receive our last permit, which is from the EPA, right now the government is shut down, so that permit has been sort of sitting. But once we get that permit, you will start to see a lot more activity and things ramping up on the site. So just kind of wanted to provide that update, and then potentially next month come back to the ANC to provide a more substantive update, and potentially be on the schedule to present. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Hopefully, we have a slightly better functioning federal government in the meantime, so we can get you on the way with those permits and things. But I appreciate the update tonight, Traverse.
No, thank you very much.
All right, looks like next is Jeannie. Welcome. Good evening.
Hi, Peter and everyone. Thank you. My name is Jeannie. I am a longtime neighbor of the Adams School. Thank you all for volunteering to support our community. I am here with two Adams School concerns, security and lights. Number one, security. I am concerned about young children I've seen hopping over the fence near the soccer field in the back alley in order to access and depart the field after hours. These are young children. This could result in injury. Also, there is an adult soccer league that plays on the school soccer field several times per week, and the members are seen by me and several of my neighbors, one by one, hopping over the fence to access the soccer field. Guess what? They're playing right now. They bring their own portable field lighting and they affix it to school property. This is an organized league, and it seems there has got to be some sort of an agreement with DCPS. So why not keep the gated entry open instead of inviting injury? I did reach out to my DCPS contact, Melissa Pergram, on September 26th, and she told me, quote, "You are more than welcome to call 311 if you feel this is an issue. MPD will arrive and ask for their permit. If they don't have a permit, they will be escorted out." I think we all agree MPD has a lot more to focus on right now, and the onus should not fall on neighbors. Number two, rear school lights. The lights are being left on the property and illuminating our homes, Wyoming, Oakland, Schuyler Arms. Of course, we understand that some lights need to be on for security, but not all. There may be a timer issue because many of these lights are on during the day. There was a 2009 agreement between DCPS, the Adams School, and neighbors following the 2009 renovation. At the time, DCPS and Adams School acknowledged the nuisance that excessive lighting caused to neighboring buildings and took steps to remediate it. Please, Howard, I ask you to work with us on these two issues. I am on my board. I have representatives from the other boards, Oakland, Wyoming, and Schuyler Arms. We are excited to see this renovation, but we are anxious for a resolution. We live at the rear of the school and we see a lot. Above all, I do not want to see young children injured as a result of hopping over fences and locked gates. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for those comments.
you very much.
Just briefly responding, and Commissioner Balke, you can interject. I'm pretty sure at some point I saw in my inbox when I inherited it from a previous commissioner that the Adams lights, I think, were a discussion point at some point far pre-construction. So I'll try to figure out if the person who was responsible for it probably changed positions. But in any case, there's plausibly one or two people that could easily fix these problems, hopefully. I mean, the hard part would probably be the bureaucracy and not the actual unlocking of gates or turning off lights. So we'll see if there's anything there. Commissioner, anything further? No pressure if not.
Yeah, I've seen some email traffic on these issues, and I'm familiar with most of them. One question I have for Jean: are they hopping the fence after dusk? Or
Yes, they are.
because I mean, it's my general understanding that these school play lots are supposed to be closed at dusk, and there's I guess a sign up there at Oyster Adams that says this soccer field closes at dusk. So
They are. I
the-
love to see people playing outside.
Yeah.
I encourage outdoor play, but if you're going to allow it, just keep the gates open. I
Yeah,
have
I mean,
seen very young children hopping over the gate, and I don't think any of us want to see that.
yeah, and I've got at least one neighbor of yours who is unhappy with just the noise level on the soccer field before dusk. So it's going to be, and he's been told, basically what you were told, which is, if something's happening after dusk, call 311. And I mean, Frank, the problem is the police are really all we have to come and enforce something like this, unfortunately.
Well, if there's an organized soccer league playing
Yeah.
outside my window right now,
Yeah.
one might think that there's some sort of an arrangement. How would all of the soccer league players know to come to this field at this time, affix their lighting on the playground and the
Mhm.
fence? I just think we want transparency and we want to protect people who see adults hopping over the fence
Mhm.
and think that it's safe to do the same thing.
And a lot of this, I think, is just going to involve continued close conversations with the school leadership. And I know we have a new principal now. And my understanding was the previous principal was not helpful at all with these neighborhood issues. And I've spoken with the new principal, and she seems aware and amenable of the role she's playing as a community leader, there on 19th Street. So, and I know you mentioned a contact with the school there, who I'm familiar with her as well. Is that a useful connection? Is she responsive in a timely manner?
She responds, but she tells the neighbors to call 311.
Yeah.
I think maybe we can bring this offline and see if we can come to a resolution. So Howard, why
I
don't
mean, I
I
would
email you?
please do. I mean, my email is 1con@anc.dc.gov. I'd be glad to, if we can get a meeting with any sort of school leadership, I'd be more than happy to attend. Absolutely.
I think many neighbors at Wyoming, Oakland, and Schuyler Arms would be interested as well to see
Yeah.
the best use of this nice new property in a safe manner.
Yeah, and I've had previous conversations with some folks on Vernon who've had longstanding concerns about I won't go into all the traffic problems we have on 19th Street just as a function of so much that's happening there, but I was able to connect them with school staff, and I'm not sure how helpful that's been. I've been glad to see they've got security guards there on 19th Street during afternoon rush hour, and I was happy to see a police cruiser parked at the corner of 19th and California last Wednesday. So at least we're getting a little bit of attention here and there. So, but absolutely glad to work with you going forward, and thank you for bringing this up.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
There's one quick comment I remembered. I've dealt with sort of similar issues at Marie Reed's fields, and I learned DC public schools it was complicated, but they were the responsible party, and also they would tell me that they're short-staffed for a lot of these types of things. So the person who was responsive is helpful, and hopefully that can contribute. And if not, we can collectively put the pressure otherwise. Yeah.
Just keep pestering. I mean,
Exactly.
the squeaky wheel gets the grease. I mean, that was I did this once before in 2022, and that was one of my big takeaways from being a commissioner for a year, was just you just have to show up and complain.
Agreed. It could be a long conversation that should not happen here.
Yes. Thank you.
Next up is Elise Roach Robinson representing Councilmember Nadeau's office. Welcome. Thank you for your patience.
Good evening, everyone. Can you guys see me and hear me?
Good. How you doing?
So if no one knows what my face looks like or recognizes my voice, my name is Eliza Roche Robinson, and I am Councilmember Nadeau's Constituent Services Specialist, and I'm glad to be here. So I'm gonna just give you guys a few updates, and then afterwards, if you have any questions, let me know. But for everyone here, if you ever need any support from the office, just let me know, and I can also put my email in the chat. Okay. So for some legislative updates, first is the RFK bill. So the council member has worked with colleagues to strengthen the environmental provisions in the legislation. And while the deal was better than how it originally came, her position has remained consistent that no taxpayer dollars should be used for the stadium. So the bill passed without her support. As far as the Rental Act and TOPA amendments, the council member has remained a strong supporter of the Tenant Opportunity to Purchase Act. She has co-led an amendment with Councilmember Louis George and the chairman that protects tenant rights and keeps our housing ecosystem stable, and that is a major win for tenants in the district overall. However, she has been disappointed with the last minute amendment that created exemptions for 2 to 4 unit buildings, which could strip thousands of tenants of their rights. And because of that change, she ultimately voted against the Rental Act. But looking ahead, she's introducing some new housing legislation this season. One to clarify buyout negotiations to protect both tenants and landlords from exploitation, and another to reform how we fund housing in the district to promote more building and expand affordability. Um, so next on public health, the council passed and the mayor has signed, as of now, an emergency measure allowing pharmacists to administer COVID vaccines without prescriptions, which will make vaccines more accessible this fall. So if you haven't gotten your COVID vaccine, please do so because it is now available. Next on the bottle bill, I know Commissioner Diamond already mentioned this, so I'll just add a little bit onto that. The council members' bottle bill, which is beverage container recycling legislation, had its first hearing October 1st with over 200 people testifying. And the day before that, she hosted a boat tour on the Anacostia River with advocates and reporters to spotlight the issue, which received very strong coverage. And another hearing is expected in November before the bill moves to the full council. There has been some misinformation from the bottle industry, but to be clear, the bottle bills haven't raised beverage prices elsewhere and probably won't here. And small businesses are largely exempt from this legislation. If you want to learn more or sign up to testify, you can go to the council member's website at brianneknadell.com/bottle bill. Okay, so that's all of the legislative stuff. So next is on the federal government shutdown. So the DC government remains open. On October 7th, the council passed emergency legislation allowing the city to resume issuing marriage licenses while the federally funded DC Superior's Court Marriage Bureau is closed. Furlough federal employees can apply for unemployment benefits at dcnetworks.org, but if retroactive pay is later issued, those benefits must be repaid. Additional resources for federal workers are also available on our website, so you can go to Brianne Canadell. And then lastly, federal response and home rule. So this has been a very challenging time for all of us, especially for DC's autonomy. In our history, the president's emergency declaration sought to take control of the MPD and direct DC agencies to act outside of local laws. Councilmember Nadeau is very angry about the misinformation that is being spread about the district and is deeply concerned about how these actions have affected immigrants, unhoused neighbors, and everyday life in our city. Although the 30-day federal control of MPD has ended, agencies like ICE, DEA, and the National Guard continue to operate under presidential authority, as they always have. It's also now clear that MPD continues to cooperate with ICE despite public statements suggesting otherwise. Councilmember Nadeau is working to ensure full transparency and to reaffirm DC's commitment to our sanctuary values and laws. If you guys have any questions about any of that or anything outside of that, please let me know.
All right, thank you for that. I know it's been a busy start to legislative season, so I appreciate all of the comments there. Commissioners, any questions? Those in attendance? All right, thanks, Eliza Roche. Have a good
Thank you,
evening.
guys.
Yep. All right, so now we can move on to the remainder of our agenda, consent agenda. Barring any last minute concern with it, consent agenda will pass. And so it has, so now we'll go to a regular agenda. As I said at the beginning of the meeting, no items that weren't on the consent agenda came directly from any committees this last month. We each have one, well, essentially have one item in the general business. If you're here regarding that, I forget exactly who we ended up, that will be representing. Yeah, Shannon, that's what I thought. We'll be discussing a proposed installation of electric vehicle charger at 2651 Mozart Place Northwest. I believe Shannon's waiting to get promoted to panelist. Once that happens, we'll hear a few words on that project and the request for our support.
Hi, everyone. It's nice to be here with you today. My name is Shannon Delaney. I'm Director of Public Affairs at It's Electric. We're a curbside level 2 EV charging company we're doing a pilot with DDOT, and one of the locations that has been selected as, well, not selected, but has passed through all of the approval processes with DDOT, is now in front of you for your approval. If it is approved, then we'll be installing the charger before the end of the year. I wanted to give you a little bit of background about It's Electric and how we're a little bit different than other EV charging companies. And then I also have all of the permit sets in case you wanted to see exactly where it would be on the street. But we can start with the permit sets and then go to the EV charging, however you would like to do it.
Up to you.
Okay, I'll do the deck first then. Also, I was just realizing that so I used to live in DC. I live in New York now, but I was I was at 1841 Columbia Road for the first year that I lived in DC. So used to be a constituent of you all. But okay, let me see. I'm sorry.
I represent that building. There have been issues with
Yeah.
property management that we can discuss as well.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, I only lived there for a year before I escaped over to Shaw. But okay, so can everyone see my screen?
And yes.
Yes, okay. So as I said, we're a curbside EV charging company. We are really trying to solve some of the big problems that cities face in having public EV charging for residents who don't have off-street parking. This is about 40 million people across the United States who don't find it particularly easy to make the switch to EVs because they don't know where they would charge their cars on a regular basis. This, unlike the very well-known range anxiety, which refers to that anxiety that EV drivers feel when they're going on road trips, and they're worried about if their battery is going to get them to the next charger. This is known as access anxiety, and it's really about that daily ability to charge your car in an easy way. So our company was founded by an architect and an urban designer, and they really looked at trying to bring charging to where people are already parked on the street. So this is a picture of our chargers in San Francisco where we deployed earlier this year. But we are really proud of our the momentum that we've gained in the first 4 years of operations, and the fact that we offer our services at no cost to cities and at no cost to property owners. We have two big differentiators. The first is how we power our chargers. So instead of working with Pepco to establish a new interconnection, which is often an 18-month-long process to get new power to the site, we work with nearby properties and to the curb. So this is privately powered but publicly accessible. We can do this because our level 2 chargers take about as much power as a washing machine. So it's very different than the DC fast chargers that require a lot of power. This is not a lot of power. It takes about 6 to 8 hours to charge a vehicle. So really perfect for that overnight charging use case. In exchange for letting us tap their power, we give 20% of the revenue that the charger generates back to the building. So there's that, it's almost like taking a page from the community solar approach in terms of giving some of the economic benefits of the EV transition back to the community. The other big differentiator is that we are the first company in the United States to offer a detachable cable. This is a really popular model in Europe and the UK, but we're the first ones to be certified to offer it here in the US. This is important for a number of reasons. One is just this small on the street. It's just 7 inches by 7 inches and 44 inches tall. And when the charger isn't in use, there aren't any cords that are dangling from the charger itself. It's also important from an accessibility perspective, not only for people with mobility or vision impairments, but also for parents of young children. Anyone who's using a mobility aid, it keeps the sidewalks clear of those cables. And then it's also important from a future proofing perspective. So when you're trying to make a decision about what sort of connector you're installing on a traditional EV charger, you're not going to be keeping pace with the change in the auto industry, which is switching from the J1772 connector to the J3400 connector. With our chargers, we could just give each driver the cable that works for them. I'll also just want to emphasize that when you create an account with It's Electric, it's not a membership, but when you just download the app, we send you a cable free of charge. So you're not having to acquire a cable. And this is non-proprietary. So as we hope more of these sorts of detachable cable hardware becomes more popular in the United States, people are not going to have lots of different types of cables. They will all be using this SAE certified technology. This is kind of just a cable slide where we show how there's different versions of this in Europe and how we're not weird, we're just European. And also the other big problem that we're solving is a lot of the public chargers get vandalized for their copper. And so it makes it so that a lot of public chargers aren't reliable for people who need to use them. So that's another reason cities want to work with us, and why DDOT in particular was interested in piloting with us. Again, there's no hardware installation costs for cities or property owners. We're the only curbside charging company with that revenue share. And then because we're not digging directly into the utility, the installation time is also a lot faster. It's just 2 days. So doesn't and never goes into the street and blocks traffic, during installation. This is just a slide about how people find out about us. It's kind of a two-way street of people requesting a charger, and then also us going out. In DC, because we're working with DDOT on this pilot, and they specifically wanted to have 2 chargers in each ward for a total of 16 chargers. A lot of proactive outreach to properties to find the right fit and to make sure that we're hitting all of the wards. This particular site is the Festival Center, and so we're really excited to be potentially working with them. However, it would not be on that busy I guess it's Columbia Road. I think it's Columbia Road. It wouldn't be on Columbia Road, which is the actual address of Festival Center. It would be around the corner, still drawing from the Festival Center's power, but not on that busy street. These are the places where we are deployed so far. We're really excited to be adding DC to this list. This is about some of the work that we're doing in California. We're developing the world's first bidirectional curbside charger to give people who park on the street the ability to take advantage of energy arbitrage opportunities. So we're really excited about that. That just got announced last week. And yeah, that's all about us.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions, comments? I have 2. So first, you had mentioned that, well, this is the first, at least for me, I can't speak for everyone, first time seeing a request like this come to the ANC. You had mentioned that DDOT had already given some sort of approval. Is that accurate? And if so, what does that mean that you're requesting of the ANC? Just because in my experience, usually DDOT doesn't go through an approval until having reviewed communities' input, such as an ANC. So I'm wondering if how helpful our voice would be, that's all.
Well, I think what DDOT has done is that they have shepherded it through all of the different permitting agencies. So they've looked at it from a street trees perspective. They've looked at it from whether or not there are planned bike lanes or bus lanes that would be going in that would prevent this from being a good idea. They've looked at just the makeup of the neighborhood and where other public EV chargers are. And so they've basically signed off on this site as like a good site. But now they're saying, okay, now that we have this as like a site that would go forward, you need to go talk to the ANC and make sure that they're supportive of the chargers going on in this particular location.
Oh, that makes sense. So the full application hasn't been fully approved, but the different segments in terms of the logistical approval of the site selection have been
Mhm.
they have okay, that makes sense to me. Second question, this is broader. You might not have a good answer for it, which is not your fault. The semi recently passed federal budget was not particularly favorable to the electric vehicle industry. Has that had any effect on how this project or just the general scope of work in the future might play out? I don't, you might not even be able to address that too specifically, but
Well, that's definitely my purview. One of the reasons why we were initially working with Washington, D.C. was because we had received a federal grant that supports the deployment of these chargers. Why DDOT in particular was interested in being a part of that federal grant program was because they are in the process of finalizing their curbside EV charging regulations, and they wanted a guinea pig to test out what those regulations and permitting guidelines look like. And so they thought that this was a good opportunity for a company that they especially like the detachable cable hardware. And so they thought, okay, this will be a good way for us to deploy and then also test local regulations. Unfortunately, that was on the list of the projects that got canceled last week. But we were able to pull down money prior to the Trump administration taking over that allowed us to purchase all of the hardware. So we are going to be covering the rest of those costs. So we aren't going to be able to cover all of the costs that we expected to, but at least the hardware was covered. So
okay, yeah, that's less pessimistic of a response than I was expecting, so that's helpful. Thank you.
we're all about the silver linings. So
I have a logistics question. So how will like the parking work, or how will car owners know that there's parking in front of the charger? Like, is it going to work kind of how like the bike rental? Like, what's the infrastructure for people knowing when it's available?
yes, so let me actually I think that it'll be helpful if I pull up the permit sets. Okay, so there's this, and then let me also, uh, okay. So if you see, this is Columbia Road Northwest, and then this is that side street, Mozart, where the chargers would actually be deployed. And these are the two spaces that it would be taking. And essentially what happens is that DDOT will also install signage that says EV parking while charging only. And so that is the new signage on that street. Because this is a residential parking permit, that's the other reason why there needs to be ANC approval here because of that residential parking overlay. This is not something that takes away that RPP overlay. This is an addition to that. So this is not going to be something where people who don't have the RPP sticker can park there. It's that if you have the RPP sticker and you have an EV and you need to charge, so it layers on the rules versus switching the rules, if that makes sense.
Thank you for that. Commissioner Laughlin.
So to follow up on that, so a non-EV car could park there?
If a non-EV car parks there, then there's enforcement in terms of a ticket.
And do you know, and maybe this is a question that we have to go to DDOT, but will there be like a grace period to alert drivers who might park there? Uh, I, from living in the community, one of our, other than rats, our other big complaint is parking. So
Yeah.
two spots, I'm sure we'll hear comments on it, but I hope DDOT has a plan to do sort of a pilot to also have a grace period or a warning window of like, if you're a non-EV car, you should not be parking there.
Yes, so I know that, well, I don't actually know what DDOT's plan is for that, but that is how we've done it in San Francisco warnings. Like the enforcement officer would just put a note under the windshield, like alerting them that it was an EV charging spot now. So that's what we tend to recommend to our city partners. So I'm happy to bring that back to DDOT to make sure we're all in like the getting things permitted stage.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that is a good flag.
And then does it cost, so the driver that uses it, do they pay a fee to charge though?
They are paying, so what the driver sees is there's the base electricity rate from Pepco, and then we're putting a premium on top of it. That
Okay.
premium is 18 cents a kilowatt hour, and then 6 of those cents goes to, in this case, the festival center as their revenue share.
Okay. And is that a competitive price? I don't know how much it costs to charge EVs. But is it a competitive price or something that would be attractive to an EV driver?
Yes, I can give you our calculator, but essentially what we do is we always price it so it's less than DC fast charging and less than a gallon of gas to whatever the local gallon of gas is.
Great. Yeah, I'm excited to see the pilot. I think the only way we know is if we test this stuff out. So
Yes, we agree. And just, going back to Commissioner Wood's comment earlier about the federal funding, we had been selected by the department partner for the CFI funding that they got, which also like hasn't gone through. So we've been anxious to work with the district on lots of different projects, and so we're excited to see that this one is going forward.
All right, thanks for that. Commissioners, any last questions or comments? Attendees as well, if you have any questions or comments, please raise your hand. It looks like we do not.
I have a quick comment. Like, I'm all for this. I think it moves the district forward in terms of like, green, having the district be green. Just a little private frustration is when I think about DDOT and overall plan, and like I know the charger needs a cooperating building, but given that parking is at such a premium in Adams, Morgan, it's too bad this couldn't have happened on that street in front of the tiny record store that they closed. Like to me, there's no parking there now. Like that, I'm struggling. Like it's a great idea, but taking away 2 parking places is unfortunate.
Okay, is there uh I'm sorry, I don't know where the tiny record store
well,
is.
and
Yeah.
Is that
to clarify in Commissioner Diamond's comment, it's not taking away 2 parking spots. It would be reserving 2 parking spots that would be for EV cars, which are still cars that would park somewhere. So it's not, it's just,
No, that's true.
it's
Right.
the
Yeah.
type of vehicle that can park there, but we're not losing the spot. It just, there's an
Yeah.
additional limitation of who can park there.
Yeah. But right. And it's not something that would make me say no to the project. Like I think it's great. It's just one of those things where, yeah, and I guess it's something that you have to try it because there are electric cars in Adams Morgan, and this seems like it seems like a step forward.
I hear what you're saying, Commissioner Diamond, and I also really appreciate your comments, Commissioner Laughlin, because that's exactly how we frame it, is that these cars are actually already parking on the street, but we're just kind of giving
Yeah.
them a spot to charge. But I understand that
Yeah.
the politics of parking, especially at the super local level, which is where you all are operating, is very fraught. So
Yes.
I
Yes.
appreciate that
Yeah.
is not an easy position to put you in. So yes. Mhm.
That reminds me of one last question I have, just out of curiosity. Do you have access or have you come across any sort of data in this process of site selection that suggests like a rough estimate of how many RPP holders in Adams Morgan or even in DC own electric vehicles? Or is that kind of a blind number that you're having to kind of figure out?
It's a blind number to some degree. We're looking just kind of at the density and also Adams Morgan is, relatively affluent neighborhood of DC. But I will say, if there was a local law that could be passed to make EV registration data more transparent for planners, that would be great. They have something like that in Boston. It's the EV census. And that is really useful in just showing where the demand is now. Obviously, it's a snapshot in time and it's backward looking, but it kind of helps at least with trend lines.
That's helpful. I know that there are boundaries in place between this position and federal employment, but we do have a commissioner who works at the census. So if you could help get that.
Oh. Well, thank you very much for your service, Commissioner
I think
Laughlin.
we added,
Yeah.
it wouldn't be, you could eventually, I think we're adding to the American Community Survey. And one of our
ACS?
surveys, I know we have a question on EV cars. I think it's on ACS or it's coming. We tested it, but eventually you'd be able to get down to at least a census tract level for that type of information.
Cool.
I think it was added, or we were testing it. Something was being done, but yeah.
Well, I will just say that I use ACS data all the time in my job. So thank you very much for making that a stronger tool.
All right, so it looks like that brings us to the end of this conversation. Really appreciate all the time and the attention you brought to our questions and things. This did not come from a committee, so I'll move that we support this request for our support. Yeah. Can I get a second for final discussion and a vote? Thank you, Commissioner Balke. All right, any last thoughts? All right, let's put to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Passes unanimously. Thank you.
I'm abstaining.
Oh, that's an abstention. I didn't see that. So still passes unanimously, just with one abstention. Appreciate that again, and hopefully have a letter sent out to you in the next couple of days or something, and we can figure out the best destination.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And if
Okay.
you'd like a template, I'm happy to send that over.
All right. If I need it, I'll let you know.
Okay.
And should be going. This is to the. It should be best addressed to the Department of Transportation, correct?
Yes, the planner that we're working with is Tassine Malik. I can send that to you over email just so you have the spelling.
Please do that.
Okay.
All right. Thanks again.
All right. Thank you so much.
And let me just double check. I didn't overlook something. Oh, so we have some now renewals for a few different institutions for their liquor licenses. There are, well, how many? 1, 2 that I represent, 1, 2, 3. They're mostly on 18th Street, not entirely. Any questions, concerns, comments that anyone wants to share about any of these liquor license renewal applications, either from commissioners or attendees? Please do so at this time. I don't have anything. I mean, I've made this comment in the past. Bedrock Willard and St. Greens are 2 that I represent. They have tavern licenses, often a controversial topic for various reasons, sometimes not great reasons in my opinion, but taverns often get a bit of tough love or worse. And those are, at least in my experience as commissioner, 2 extremely well-run institutions. And I have encountered anything besides just very good partnership in the community, regardless of the type of liquor license they have. So I hope that continues. It's a difficult small business environment. So aware of that and don't suggest taking any action on any of these renewals at this time, but open to any other comments if there are so. And it looks like they're not. And on that note, let's adjourn for the evening. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Thanks.
Bye.